All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What is going on, YouTube? Happy Saturday, October 28th. It's almost Halloween, but we're out here for another edition of the NHL Quick Hit video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you have not already. And throughout the show, down in the comment section, drop your favorite stacks, your favorite goalies, your favorite plays of tonight's slate, what you love about NHL DFS. And if you are a member, man, we absolutely nailed the slate last night. I took over $1,000 last night. Great ROI. Many membership and contests last night. We nailed it. Looking to run it back here tonight. And if you are not a member yet, I don't know what you're doing, but head over to SHIPITNation.com. Use promo code NBA10. Get you 10% off any package that we offer for life, including all sports. As you see there on the screen, expert content, projections, tools, the best Discord community in the business, covering NFL, MLB, NBA, PGA, MMA, and NHL, along with additional ancillary sports that are covered in the Discord at no additional cost for any of the additional sports starting up. All the sports, one price, best all-in rate in the industry. So promo code NBA10 gets you 10% off there. Let's jump into it right away. We got a 7-game main slate tonight for NHL on this Saturday here. Looking at the slate, we got 7 total there in Ottawa and Pittsburgh. Obviously, Pittsburgh at home. Korpisalo and Tristan Jarry expected to be in net there. And then one other lone 6.5 total in Toronto and Nashville. Out there in Nashville, Saros at home. Samsonov going to be in net for Toronto. That's 6.5. Every other total on the slate is 6 over under. I like some of the spots in the 6 totals. Should go a little bit overlooked here. Expect the Penguins to be kind of the chalk of the slate there in that Ottawa and Pittsburgh game. Obviously, highest total on the slate, highest implied team total as well on the slate for Pittsburgh. Expect ownership to follow that. And then in Toronto and Nashville, I expect Toronto to get some decent ownership here. -144 road favorite, 6.5 total in that game there. From a perspective in terms of team totals, obviously Penguins, I already said, lead the slate 3.86, which is significantly lower than what we've seen earlier or so far throughout the season. So that's why tonight's slate, I'm going to list off a couple of my favorite stacks here. And you could definitely be different than what I'm looking at. It's pretty tricky slate overall, in my opinion, here tonight. Last night we were pretty dialed in, but tonight I'm going to pick my spots, and that's where I'm going to go. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. We'll be back. The next slate, there's always tomorrow. There's always Monday. There's always the day after. Definitely bankroll management is key in DFS for the longevity. But like I said, Pittsburgh, highest implied team total on the slate at 3.86. Boston shortly behind at 3.85. Obviously, Boston gets Detroit on the road here. Boston at home, -185, heaviest favorite on the slate. Overall, that is a six total in that game. Toronto, top 3 at 3.7 implied goals. New York Rangers as the late night hammer, right around 3.6. And then the Jets, right around 3.5, is kind of the rounding out the top. Lowest team totals on the slate, Detroit down at 2.33. Obviously, they get that matchup against Boston. Boston at home, very good defensive hockey team, very good hockey team in general. No surprise there. Vancouver on the back-to-back, 2.6 over or implied goal total there. Vancouver made me a lot of money last night, so that was great to see. But now they're on a back-to-back here. They are at home, but they get this Rangers squad that is pretty solid. So those are some of the high-level overviews of the slate overall. Let's jump into some of my favorite stacks of the evening here. I'm going to start with that Winnipeg game. Winnipeg, it is a 6 over-under there. Winnipeg -147 road favorites here against Montreal in Montreal here. And looking at the matchup sheet, Montreal Worst team in the league in expected goals against, and their actual goals against is actually kind of middle of the pack. So I expect some more goal regression to come positively in the way of the Jets here, hopefully tonight. Expected goals against for Montreal on the season, 4.4, and that's obviously tied muchly to the number of shots on goal they allow. They allow over 34 shots on goal per game. Penalty kill at just 73%. Give up the second most penalties in the game, 5.31 attempts per game for the opposing team, and the second most high danger chances in the entire league at over 15. So everything points to here for me. Winnipeg's my number one stack of the night. Overall, they're going to get some ownership, but they're the fourth or the fifth highest implied goal total, team total on the slate. So I expect ownership to kind of be held in check a little bit. Where I'm looking it for Winnipeg, top line, I love the top line here. Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Alex Iafallo. Love that line. Alex Iafallo at 5K, excellent value. He's averaging over 3 shots per game. Going to play 17 to 19 minutes here. Has okay history against Montreal. Kyle Connor at sub 8K. 7,500 for him. He has absolutely owned Montreal. Has a goal in each of his last 2 games against Montreal last season. Absolutely love Kyle Connor here at 7,500. My top wing on the slate as I'm looking right now. He's going to play over 20 minutes, between 21 and 23 minutes. Absolutely incredible play there for Kyle Connor. Mike Scheifele at 6,100. Don't love him as much, but adding him to the stack definitely makes a lot of sense. He's typically a pass-first guy, but he can definitely get it done here. So 6,100, have some interest in him. And then don't sleep on the second line either. Nikola Ehlers, Cole Perfetti, and Vladimir Nemeskov, I think is how you pronounce it. Name striker is what I call him. Obviously, these hockey names, man, I'm terrible with pronunciation, but that's all right. We move on. So second line as well for Winnipeg, I have interest in. One of the third liners that I'm actually also, you can jump down to this third line for Winnipeg. I actually like all top 3 lines because looking at this third line, once we get to the value wingers, I'm going to bring both these guys up, but I'll bring them up right now as well. First guy, Nino Niederreiter, third line, second power play, going to play 15 to 16, 17 minutes, somewhere in that range. Obviously, just did score a goal last game against Detroit, so don't love that from a value perspective. But looking at his history against Montreal, had a goal last game against Montreal last season. Obviously, different team, different scenario, things like that. And then the game before that, he had 3 assists. So heavily involved in scoring in the past against this Montreal squad. He's just 3,800, getting second power play time as well. And then the other guy I have interest in is Mason Appleton on that same third line there, skating next to Niederreiter. 3,400 for him. He's averaging right around 2 shots per game, 16 to 18 minutes expected for him. So love Winnipeg here. Winnipeg's my top play of the night. If you want the top end spends, Kyle Connor, that Alex Iafallo, Mark Scheifele line, I love. And then I actually think I put line 3 ahead of line 2 here tonight as well. I like the value on this line 3 stack here for Winnipeg. So Winnipeg, my number one stack of the night. Another stack I have interest in is the late night hammer here, Vegas Golden Knights, heading into LA to face the Kings here. Game's basically a pick 'em, but looking at the matchup sheet that we have over here at SHIPITNation.com, the Kings allowing over 3.5 goals per game, but their expected goals against is significantly better. Their expected goals against is sitting at 2.6, so third best in the league. I expect some negative goal regression to come their way. They're just having pretty bad puck luck. They also allow the least high danger chances in the league, but this Vegas Golden Knights team is 7-1 to start the year. It is still a 6.5 total here, basically a pick 'em. And I believe the Kings are also on a back-to-back here. So Vegas coming in, fresh legs, not on a back-to-back. I like Vegas quite a bit here. One guy that stands out big time to me is my guy, William Karlsson. I'll bring him up again once I get to the value section. But this guy, 18, 8, 12, 8, 16 in his last 5 games. And he's just 3,700, sub 4K, getting power play time as well. I don't know how you do not play William Karlsson here if you're going to Vegas. Love William Karlsson. And then the other big dogs, right? Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel's been great to start the year, averaging over 4 shots per game. Going to play right around 20 minutes of ice time. Think he's an excellent play. And then one of the best D-men on the entire slate, Shea Theodore. 5,900, sub 6K for this guy. 19, 19, 20, 11, 20, 23 DraftKings points in his last 6 games. I mean, this guy is absolutely electric. Been crushing every game, averaging right around 18.5 fantasy points per game over the last 5. He's averaging right around 3.5 shots per game. Going to pick up some blocks as well. Plays 24 to 26 minutes. Shea Theodore, in my mind, the best value D-man on the entire slate. So I love Shea Theodore. But for Vegas, I like all the top line for sure. I like the second line a little bit. The Paul Cotter, Chandler Stevenson, Mark Stone line, because Paul Cotter, $2,700, $200 over min price, getting power play time as well. Nice value play on him. Mark Stone at $5,600. He hasn't been great to start the year. I wish he was shooting the puck a little bit more, but I like second liners typically a little bit more on the road, so you can definitely see a uptick here for him in this game. And then I already brought up the third line in William Karlsson. So overall, love Vegas here tonight as well. Really love William Karlsson, especially as a one-off. If you have, you land in his price range as a value spot in that utility spot on your DraftKings lineups, don't look anywhere else than William Karlsson. I think he's an excellent play here tonight. So love the Knights here. You can't go wrong with any of them, in my opinion here. Do have to bring up Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh probably going to be the chalk of the slate here. Haven't looked too much into ownership, but I do like Pittsburgh quite a bit here tonight at home in this matchup here against the Senators. Senators allowing right around 3.5 goals per game. Their expected goals is better than that, but their penalty kill is towards the bottom third of the league at just 74%. And Pittsburgh haven't been great. Both these teams 3-4. It is a 7 over under, and we've seen a lot of goals in these games in the past here. Looking at the numbers, 9 goals last year, 5 goals, and then the last game that they played was 2-1 there at home in Pittsburgh here. But take that for what it's worth. It's a new season, new pieces on each one of these squads this year. First value play that stands out to me in this game big time is Lars Eller. 3,100 for him, third liner at home, which I typically like third liners a little bit more at home. He plays right around 15 minutes of ice time. He actually leads this team in shots per game over the last 5 games, 17, 6, and 16 DraftKings points in his last 5. He's $600 over min price. Like Lars Eller quite a bit here overall. Next guy, obviously, my favorite line in this game is Sidney Crosby, Jake Guentzel, Brian Rust. It's going to be the popular pairing, this line one. But looking at unblocked shot attempts for over the last 3 games, they lead. They're third in the league. 35 unblocked shot attempts for over the last 3 games from that line, with only 2 goals to show for it. So I expect them to pot a couple goals here tonight in this matchup against Ottawa. Love the line one here for Pittsburgh, Sidney Crosby, Jake Guentzel, Brian Rust. You can look into the second line. It's going to be a little bit lower owned than that top line, with still similar upside in Riley Smith, Raquel, and Evgeny Malkin. So Pittsburgh firmly in play, all 3 lines. Kind of the same thing for me with Winnipeg, whereas Vegas, I kind of like that top line. And then William Karlsson is a value guy on that third line. So Pittsburgh, going to be the chalk of the slate. You can get different playing the second line, playing this third line if you want. But my top stack on the entire slate, I think, is that Pittsburgh line one. Definitely contest there for me with Winnipeg. Looking at 2 more stacks that I'm have interest in here tonight. Number one, it's the Rangers. This Rangers second line in particular with Philip Chytil, Alexis Lafreniere, and Artemi Panarin. Vancouver's on a back-to-back. Crushed last night. Won me a lot of money last night in that game as the late night hammer. Quinn Hughes, my boy, with the double goal. I love that. They're on a back-to-back here. They are at home, which I wish they were on the road, but the Rangers, fresh legs coming in here. I think this is a great spot for the Rangers. Artemi Panarin at 6,400, one of the best wing plays on the entire slate. His last game against Vancouver, he did score 2 goals. Last season back in February there. Obviously it's a past season, whatever. You can say what you want about history. It's been pretty good for me. I've definitely take a look at it and factor it into my process a little bit at least. And at 6,400 on a team that I already like in the Rangers here, I think he makes some sense, especially on that second line when I like second liners a little bit more on the road. personally. So Artemi Panarin, Philip Chytil, Alexis Lafreniere, definitely have interest in. Mika Zibanejad at sub 6K. I mean, this guy, we were paying 9K for this guy last season, and he's 6,600 here. Looking at his history against Vancouver last year, has a goal in both of 3 goals in 2 games. So sub 7K for Mika Zibanejad. I'm going to correlate as well with Panarin on that top power play. You can't look past Mika Zibanejad as a center on the slate at 6,600. I think he makes a lot of sense. I already brought up Philip Chytil, averaging right around 3 shots per game. He's sub 5K at just 4,300. Great value there. Chris Kreider's been excellent all year. Great history against Vancouver as well. Good stack piece with Mika Zibanejad as well. He also correlates with Panarin on that top power play. So like the Rangers here quite a bit. Typically, when I play the Rangers, I look at the power play for them. Just they have a lethal power play, 5th best in the league. Vancouver's got a pretty good penalty kill. Don't give up a ton of power play opportunities as well, but the Rangers power play is lethal, cashing in over 30% rate. And Vancouver also allows the 5th most high danger chances in the league here. So like the Rangers a little bit here tonight, especially as the late night hammer. Obviously that game's starting there at 10 p.m. Eastern out in Vancouver. So like the Rangers as well. And then rounding out my stacks is actually going to be this Columbus-New York Islanders game. I think we see goals on both sides of this game. New York's definitely going to be the more popular side here, but both these teams have been pretty bad defensively. The Islanders and the Blue Jackets, both of them allow a decent amount of high danger chances right about middle of the pack, at both allowing over 3 goals per game, Islanders allowing the 2nd most shots on net per game in the entire league, and then Blue Jackets right around the 7th most in the entire league. So I expect there to be goals in this one. The over-under is only 6. I expect this total to go over. Last time these two played, there was 9 goals between them. So I actually like this side. Like I said, Columbus is going to be lower owned. Looking at the Columbus line, I like that Boone Jenner, Johnny Gaudreau, Roslovic line. Always love Boone Jenner. Boone Jenner is definitely underrated, in my opinion, in this hockey league. Absolutely stud. Love this kid. Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, 6,100 for him. Pretty good price point, averaging over 4 shots per game over the last 5. Going to play over 20 minutes as well. And then on the Islanders side, I think this first and second line, I mean, looking at this top line for the Islanders, Bo Horvat, Anders Lee, Matthew Barzal, 6K for Bo Horvat with his history against Columbus. Obviously, it's not been with the Islanders. It was with Vancouver there, but 31, 28, and 12 in his last 3 games against Columbus here. He's averaging right around 3.5 shots per game. Like him, Noah Dobson, I mean, at 6K, you want a ton of upside at the deep position. Grab Noah Dobson, grab Shea Theodore, and 6K, 5,800. It's expensive to pay for 2 D-men. Typically, I like to save a D-men, but Noah Dobson's kind of up there. Actually, he's been better than Shea Theodore at $100 more. 24, 23, 16, 20, and 31 in his last 5 games. That's a 22.5 fantasy point per game average over the last 5 games. This guy's averaging over 3 shots per game on net. He's going to pick up blocks. He's averaging right around 4.5 blocks per game as well, playing 26 to 28 minutes. I mean, Noah Dobson at 6K flat, my top D-man on the entire slate. Him and Shea Theodore, I really like the lineup. If you just grab one of each of those, grab a little correlation, please, with like a guy like Bo Horvat who skates with him on the power play and on that top line. So I actually love this game from Columbus and New York's side. Columbus definitely going to be lower owned, and they are the home team here. I expect we see goals in this game. I like both sides. Once we get to value, I'm going to talk about some value plays here from Columbus once I break it down in the value section, so you hear on some of them. But can't go wrong. Kyle Palmieri as well from the Islanders' second line top power play. 15-10, 15-2, 10-12. All games but one have been over 10 fantasy points. And he's just 4,500 getting power play time as well. Going to play 18 to 20 minutes. So you can grab him. Maybe you do a Dobson Palmieri stack. They correlate on the power play there. And he's definitely cheaper than some of these other guys. Anders Lee, 4,100. I mean, these prices on these Islanders are going to increase their ownership a lot here, especially with them being a road favorite. I expect there to be goals in both the games. So I like both sides of this game personally in Columbus and the Islanders. that's some of the stacks I'm looking at on this slate. Again, if you guys are new, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Down in the comments, drop some of your favorite plays of tonight's slate, your favorite goalies, whatever it has be. And then if you are not a member yet, head over to shipitnation.com. Use promo code NBA10. We've got an NBA slate tonight. We got a huge NFL slate tomorrow. Obviously, showdown, all things sports, all sports, 10% off for life. Promo code NBA10 over on shipitnation.com. Already too cheap for what we offer in the industry, and you get 10% off as well. So head over there if you are not a member. Back to this show, though, back to hockey here. Let's talk goalies. Some of the goalies I'm looking at, my first goalie, I already talked about liking both sides of that Columbus and New York Islanders game, but I also have to have interest in my guy, Varlamov here at home. Varley, the reason being is the Islanders allow the second most shots, like I talked about, in the entire league. And I just think he's got a ton of upside here. Excuse me. Sorry. So it does look like Sorokin. Excuse me. Sorokin is going to be in that. So I even like that even more. 8,300. If I'm spending up at goalie, it's going to be Sorokin. He's got 17, 28, 10, 27 in his last 5 games here. But it's just the saves upside for me. Like I said, I talk about it all the time. Goalie on DraftKings, if you can get to that 35 save bonus and find your way to a win, you're mint at the goalie position. So that's what I look for. I want to see goalies that have a chance to win, which I think obviously the Islanders, they're a favorite on the road here. They have a chance to win. They're going to see a lot of volume because Columbus fires the puck, 8th most shot attempts per game in the league. And then the Islanders allow the 2nd most shots on the goal per game. So Ilya Sorokin all the way up at the top, 8,300. Definitely have some interest in him. Looking past that, goalie's pretty gross in my opinion on this slate. So another goalie I'm interested in is Logan Thompson out there in that Vegas Golden Knights LA Kings game. He's on the road here, but Kings on a back-to-back. I already talked about liking Vegas in terms of stacks. 7,700 for Logan Thompson. Kings do take the 11th most shots per game as well, so he should see some rubber flying his way, get some saves there. So 7,700, like Logan Thompson as well. Going back to that Vancouver New York Rangers game, I already talked about I like the Rangers. Rangers one of my favorite stacks on the board, but Vancouver allows a ton of shots, and that leads to saves. Casey DeSmith, pretty gross play at the goalie position, but he's just 7,400, 24 and 23 in his last 2 games against 2 quality offensive hockey teams in Florida and Edmonton. He can pick up some saves, and even if he does give up 2-3 goals, if he gets you to that bonus at his price point, gets you some saves, and somehow Vancouver finds a way to win this game as well. Both these teams are obviously 5-2 to start the year. It is still 6 over under, 6.5 there. Casey DeSmith at 7,400. Definitely have a little bit of interest in there. Obviously, do not play any skaters against him on this big of a slate. But in lineups, you're not playing the Rangers, feel free to hedge or throw in a guy like Casey DeSmith at his price point there. Thinks he can definitely get you some save upside. Didn't talk about that Nashville-Toronto game too much. I typically think this game, I tend to think this game is going to go under here. Nashville plays very good at home. The very defensive focused, very suffocating hockey team. And last year we saw that this game was a 2-1 game, 3-0 the season before that. So have to have some interest in my guy, Juuse Saros here. He's won me a lot of money over the years. He's just 7,300 at home here in a game where, hey, wouldn't surprise me to see the Predators win this game. They are only a plus 130 home dog here. So 7,300 for Saros. Definitely have some interest in him as a cheap goalie. And then my hedge goalie, my whatever you want to call it, my kind of contrarian goalie take. I obviously said Winnipeg's one of my top stacks of the entire slate. Love Winnipeg here, but I'd be remiss not to mention my guy, Jake Allen. Jake Allen's been a hero for me, won me a lot of money, especially last season. He's 7,700 here at home. He's averaging over 30 saves per game over the last 5 games, 11, 21, and 31 in his last 3 games there with a win against Washington, a win against Buffalo. Toronto, he gave up 5 goals and still scored 11 DraftKings points. That's the stuff that I want to see when I'm looking at a goalie, because even if things go bad, like giving up 5 goals, he still scored 11 DraftKings points because he had 37 saves. So Jake Allen, going to see a ton of rubber fly his way there. Talked about my Winnipeg, loving Winnipeg here tonight. But in lineups, you're not playing any Jets. I expect the Jets to get some ownership here tonight as well, especially at their price points in terms of projections, in terms of the industry. Don't be afraid to throw in another lineup, my guy Jake Allen at 7,700 here at home. So that's going to round out the goalies for me. Talking on some values here. Let's start with the center position, bringing up some values. My first round, I already talked about this guy, Lars Eller for Pittsburgh, top stack of the day in terms of the industry, in terms of team totals, in terms of Vegas total, everything. And he's 3,100 here, going to play 14 to 16 minutes. He's been good, 17, 6, and 16 DraftKings points in his last 3 games, averaging over 3 shots per game. Lars Eller, excellent value play on this slate. Going back to, didn't talk about Boston and Detroit too much. Interesting to note, Detroit has been amazing to start the year. Second best scoring hockey team in all of the NHL. And when I look at unblocked shot attempts for over the last 3 games, Detroit, that Detroit line 1, Larkin, DeBrincat, and Lucas Raymond are second in the league with 39 unblocked shot attempts for on net. Don't love this spot for them because Boston's very good at home. But looking at some value guys for Boston, number 1, Charlie Coyle, 3,400 at home here, averaging over 2 shots per game. Going to see 16 to 18 minutes here, 9, 6, 5, 9, 17 in his last 5 games in terms of DraftKings points. Third liner at home, like third liners, definitely more at home. So have some interest in Charlie Coyle. And then another guy there for Boston that I have some interest in is Matthew Poitras here. 4K flat for this guy. Second line, going to get power play time as well on that second unit. 24, 14, and 9 DraftKings points in his last 3 games, averaging right around 2 shots per game. Going to see 14 to 16 minutes. Not a ton of ice time there, but could see him definitely keep this up. He is definitely involved when he is on the ice in Matthew Poitras at 4K flat there. My favorite value center on the entire slate, talked about this guy a ton when I talked about Vegas. It's William Karlsson, 13, 4, 18, 8, 12, 8, 16 is what his game log reads off as. Obviously, game log watching isn't something I like to do, but when you're looking at a value guy, you want to see him involved. This guy plays right around 16 minutes over the last 5 games on average per game, averaging right around 2 shots on net per game. William Karlsson here, I think, makes some sense with the Kings on the back-to-back. Going to get some power play time as well. He's just 3,700. And then my last guy, talked about that Islanders Columbus game. I think the game goes over. And I mentioned this guy last show, as a value guy. Going right back to the well, Jean-Gabriel Pageau here, JPG, third liner, second power play unit, averaging right around 2 shots per game over the last 5 games. Going to play 17 to 18 minutes roughly. 13, 13, 6 in his last 3 games here. Has decent history against Columbus. He's $600 over min price. So another value center there in Jean-Gabriel Pageau with a pretty healthy implied goal total there for the Islanders as well. Jumping over the wing position, looking at some value wingers here. First guy, this guy nuked the slate last night. I wish I had him over Kuzmenko. I would have won even more money, but wasn't going to leave that much salary on the table when I already like the correlation between Kuzmenko and Quinn Hughes. But it's Ilya Mikheyev. 3,700 for this guy, Vancouver. He's averaging over 4.5 shots per game. Obviously, it's only a 3-game sample, but 4 shots on goal his first game on the season. 4 shots on goal against Nashville and 6 shots on goal against St. Louis. Ilya Mikheyev, 11, 15, 21 in his last 3 games. Love him if you need a value play. Don't love chasing these cheapies after a ceiling game, but he's proven it 3 times in a row against 3 different squads, especially at Nashville, when Nashville is very good defensively on home ice. He did the same thing. Hosted 4 shots on net with a goal. He's got a goal in 2 straight games, Nashville, and then obviously last night against St. Louis as well. 3,700 for him. Thinks makes a lot of sense if you need a value guy. Talked about that Columbus game quite a bit. Columbus actually from the wing position has the best matchup on the slate for wingers against these Islanders over the last 5 games. Look no further than a guy that's 3,200, Emil Bemstrom, second power play unit, second line. Only going to see 12 to 14 minutes here, 13-ish minutes on average, but 6, 16, and 23 DraftKings points in his last 3 games here. Has decent history as well against the Islanders. Has 2 goals in his last 3 games against the same New York Islanders squad, and he's $3,200. So Emil Bemstrom, definitely have some interest in him. personally as a value winger on this slate. Going back to Winnipeg, I talked about Winnipeg. Love Winnipeg here tonight, much like a lot of people will, but there's ways to get different. And looking at two of these value wingers from the same team here. The first guy, Nino Niederreiter, already brought him up when I mentioned that third liner, second power play unit. Going to play 15 to 17 minutes, averaging right around 2 shots on net per game. Like him at just 3,800. And then another guy, his line mate, Mason Appleton, 12 and 19 DraftKings points in his last 2 games. He's 3,400, doesn't get any power play time, but sees the same thing, 16 to 18 minutes, averaging right around 2 shots on net per game. He's 3,400. So nice little 2-man correlated stack there as a lower owned third line. Typically, people just never go to these third liners anyway, so don't have to worry about any ownership really typically flocking to them. And then my last winger I have interest in terms of value on this slate, Luke Evangelista. This guy averaging over 2 shots on net per game, averaging over 3 power play minutes per game as well. 15 to 17 minutes in terms of total minutes on the ice per game. Top power play unit for Nashville in that Toronto game. 6.5 over under in that game. Luke Evangelista at 3,800, I think makes some sense if you need a last one-off option as a wing. Jumping over the last breakdown here of today's show, we're going to the defense position. I already talked about my 2 favorite D-men on the entire slate, Shea Theodore, Noah Dobson. Very hard to ignore what they've been doing so far this season. But looking at value guys, sub 4K value options for the D position if you need it. My first guy, going back to that Nashville-Toronto game, Alex Carrier, 6, 10, 21, 15 DraftKings points in his last 4 games. Going to play over 20 minutes. He blocks a ton of shots, averaging 4 blocks per game over the last 5. Going to get you that bonus, hopefully, and DraftKings scoring for the D-man position. And Toronto's definitely going to fire the puck. So look for Alex Carrier to have some block shots in this one at just 3,600. Going to that same game on the other side of the ice is 2 value guys for Toronto. First guy, TJ Brody, brought this guy up last time. Very, very solid floor. Hasn't scored under 7 DraftKings points in any of his games this year. He's 3,600. Going to play over 20 minutes, averaging right around 5 blocks per game. So I have some interest in him. And then his other teammate on the second line, Mark Giordano. This guy is more offensive focused, so I like him a little bit more, especially at $100 cheaper. 18, 8, 11, 8, 10 is his game log for the last 5. Going to play less minutes, 16 to 18 minutes, but when he's on the ice, he's firing pucks at the net and he's blocking shots. So a little bit more upside in a guy like Mark Giordano, and he's cheaper. So like Mark Giordano in that game. Going back to Vancouver, this guy was involved last night. He's averaging over 2 shots per game, playing right around 25 minutes of ice time. It's Philip Hronek here. And looking at his history, obviously he was not in Vancouver last season, but looking at his history last season against these Rangers, 27 and 13 DraftKings points. He's 3,800. So have some interest in him for Vancouver in that late night game there between the Rangers. Definitely like the Rangers side more in that game. But if a value D-man like Philip Hronek skating on that top line, going to get second power play unit time as well. 3,800 for him. Definitely have some interest in there. And then rounding out my D-men interest on the slate, it's another Vegas D-men. I think you could pair these 2 guys together. They skate together on the same line on full strength ice time. It's Brady McNabb, Shea Theodore's line mate. 8, 12, 10, 15, 9, and 13 is his game log. These D-men are heavily involved in this Vegas offense. This guy blocks a ton of shots, averaging right around 4 blocks per game, playing over 20 minutes. At 3,800, I think you could definitely do worse at the deep position. So talked on stacks, talked on goalies, talked on some value at the center, wing, and defensive position. That's going to do it for this edition of the October 28th NHL Quick Hit video. Again, if you guys haven't, head over to SHIPITNation.com. Use that promo code NBA10, gets you 10% off your lifetime package. Whatever package you choose, whether it's the 6-month, month, or the yearly package, gets you access to all sports, including access to the best Discord in the industry. Tons of winners last night in the NHL streets, in the SHIPIT Nation Discord, myself included. We're looking to run it back tonight. Good luck tonight in your contest. Good luck tonight in NBA, and good luck tomorrow for NFL Sunday. I will be back. We'll catch you guys next time. For myself, Nadesify, let's ship it.